Bo Nix, Oregon. Wow, what a major success story it has been for Bo Nix at Oregon. The Pac-12 championship is all set up for Friday night as it is between Oregon and Washington. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Bo Nix having an incredible season for Oregon as he has them at an 11-1 record. However, their one loss came against Washington as this is a rematch from earlier in the season. The winner of this game will end up winning the Pac-12 championship as well as possibly making an appearance for the college football playoff this season. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. How confident are you in Bo Nix performing well against Washington? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, I am at a 9 for Bo Nix. I know Bo Nix is going to perform well against Washington because he did that last time when he played against Washington. Oregon didn't lose against Washington because Bo Nix didn't show up. Oregon lost to Washington last time because their defense fell apart late in the game. And let's face it was two great teams going up against each other. Oregon and Washington are both really good football teams. It's just at the end of the day, one team has to come out as the winner while the other team has to come out as the loser. That's exactly what happened in the Oregon-Washington game. That happened because Oregon's defense didn't show up late in the game and Michael Penix Jr. made the late play late in the game while Bo Nix didn't. That's not a knock on Bo Nix. That's just how great Michael Penix was against Oregon. However, when you look at Washington now, they're not as good as what they were earlier on in the season. When you look at Washington, they've had to scrape by with some ugly victories. Yes, they've won those games, but it's not like they've been blowing out people as of late. As for Oregon, they've been on a steamroll lately. Their offense is humming. Their defense is getting better and better. You gotta give a lot of credit to Dan Lanning, the head coach for Oregon. Yeah, I know a lot of people didn't like him when he bullied Deion Sanders, and I get where people are coming from with that, but I think Dan Lanning was absolutely right looking back on it because Deion Sanders ended up only winning 4 games at Colorado, but it's another story for another day. Dan Lanning has done a phenomenal job at Oregon. He's been able to keep the train rolling. Oregon's been winning a lot of football games, and a lot of that is because of Bo Nix. In fact, if the season ended today, I would vote Bo Nix as my Heisman Trophy winner. I know some people might be thinking, oh, what about Michael Penix Jr.? Oh, what about Jane Daniels? Or about Marvin Harrison Jr.? But I think Bo Nix is the best out of the 4 because Bo Nix has a cannon for an arm. He can throw it deep. He's super accurate with the football. He is so experienced. He knows exactly what he's doing on the football field, and he's elevating Oregon big time. If you put Michael Penix Jr. on Oregon, this team would not be 11-1. The fact of the matter is, Oregon's offense has been good because of Bo Nix. When you look at the college football playoff rankings, yes, Washington is above Oregon, but it's not by a negligible difference because you look at the rankings. Georgia's 1, Michigan's 2, Washington's 3, Florida State's 4, and Oregon is 5. The scenario for Oregon to get to the college football playoff is rather simple. Win. You beat Washington, you're in for the playoffs. This is essentially a play-in game because whoever wins this game is going to end up making the college football playoff because Oregon and Washington are going to be vying for the Pac-12 championship. And congrats, by the way, to our Pac-12 team for making it to the college football playoff. This is the first time that's going to be the case since 2016. It hasn't happened since Jake Browning played for Washington. Shout out to Jake Browning. If you guys don't know who he is now a starting quarterback in the NFL for the Cincinnati Bengals. He is a starting quarterback because Joe Burrow got himself out for the season with a wrist injury. But that's another matter for another day. When you talk about Oregon and Washington, these have been the 2 best teams in the Pac-12 all season long. And the crazy thing is, these 2 teams didn't even make it to the Pac-12 championship game last year. So we got new teams in the championship game that we're talking about. And when you have new teams, that means you have new storylines to talk about. It's not like Michigan going on the 3rd straight Big Ten title run or Georgia going back to the SEC championship game. This is a situation where Oregon and Washington have not been a team that's been able to make the college football playoff all the time. And when you look at it like that, it's been refreshing to see because you get to see new teams, new storylines. And when you get those kind of things going, you get to be able to talk about different kinds of football. And Pac-12 football has honestly been enjoyable this year. You look at Pac-12 this year, you're thinking, wow, what a lot of innovative football to be played. The conference is actually not a joke for once. In fact, the conference is actually the strongest conference in the Power 5 this season. And that's because the Pac-12 has done a great job dealing with offense and everything like that. SEC football's been extremely weak this year. Sorry, SEC fans, but that's the reality of the situation. I know you guys don't like it when I say stuff like that, but that's the truth because you think about the SEC, you think about Georgia, you think about Bama, you might think about Missouri. I think who else? There's not really a lot of teams to think about in the SEC this year. Now, obviously, when you look at Oregon, you think about the weapons that they have. They got Bo Nix at the quarterback position. He's amazing. They got Bucky Irvin running the football. He's also really good at catching the football. They got Jordan Jordan James, and they got Noah Whittington. And then, of course, you look at the receiving game, they got Troy Franklin, they got Tez Johnson, Gary Bryant Jr. Seems like he's going to be back for the Pac-12 championship game, and they got Trayshawn Holden. So Oregon, they're 4 deep at wide receiver, and they're also pretty deep at the running back position. Don't forget about their tight end position as well. They got Terrence Ferguson and Patrick Herbert. So when you talk about this Oregon team, they're pretty stacked offensively. No weaknesses whatsoever, and the numbers speak for itself. I mean, anytime a quarterback is throwing 37 touchdowns while only throwing 2 interceptions and taking 5 sacks, that tells me the quarterback is playing really good. And the crazy thing with Bo Nix is he's completing 78.6% of his passes. I mean, when I first looked at those numbers, I thought, did he mistype his numbers or something? But no, it's for real. Those are his legitimate numbers, and a big reason for that is because Bo Nix has been dominating college football this year. I'm kind of surprised Bo Nix hasn't been talked about more this year, considering how great he has been for Oregon. I know a lot of people want to hype Jane Daniels and Michael Penix Jr. And I'm not saying that those guys weren't great, but Bo Nix has been better than both of them. You look at the numbers, you look at the winning. The only difference between Michael Penix Jr. right now and Bo Nix is that Michael Penix Jr. beat him earlier in the season. But if Bo Nix beats him in a rematch, then that means the series is tied. That means that Oregon is going to win the Pac-12 championship game, and that means Bo Nix has got to take ahead of Michael Penix Jr. in the Heisman Trophy race. At least that's the case in my mind. Now, as far as whether he's going to win over Jane Daniels or not, in my mind, he should. But hey, Jane Daniels scored 50 touchdowns this year. When you got a quarterback that scores 50 touchdowns in a single season, it's kind of pretty hard to pass him down. The reason I would take Bo Nix over Jane Daniels is because of the fact that Bo Nix has elevated Oregon more so than Jane Daniels has been for LSU, and the fact that Oregon, they're going to make it to the college football playoff this year, while LSU is sitting at home. They're not even in the SEC championship game. Again, when you look at it like this, Bo Nix has simply been the most impactful player in all of college football. He's been amazing for Oregon. I think he's going to go ahead and outplay Michael Penix Jr. in the Pac-12 championship game. Now, as far as Washington, let's talk about the weapons that they have. They got Michael Penix Jr. throwing the football. He's been pretty solid for them. He's kind of been their version of Tua Tagovailoa. He's been spitting the ball out to playmakers in space. As far as running the football, they got Dylan Johnson, they got Will Nixon, they got Tybo Rogers. I know that they don't really like to run the football a lot, but when they do an effective job of it. Then, of course, you look at the receiving position. They got O'Dunsey, they got Polk, they got Bernard, they got McMillan. They like to play a lot of spread out football. If you like spread football, Washington is the team to follow. And then, of course, you think about their tight end position, Jack Westover, Devin Cole, Josh Corvez. They also like to use Dylan Johnson in the passing game as well. He's kind of their do-all running back. When you look at both of these teams, they have running backs that can both run and catch the football. So when you have running backs like that, that certainly opens up versatility in the game of football. Now, how do I see the game playing out in Vegas? Well, I think Oregon's going to end up beating Washington because of the fact that Oregon is just simply a better football team than Washington. Yes, Washington is 12-0, but it's not like they've been a great 12-0 team. They've been 12-0 this year because they've been able to win the tight games, and you can't win every tight game in college football. Eventually, you're going to have to be able to dominate on a good opponent, and they can't dominate Oregon. As for Oregon, I've seen them dominate football teams game in and game out. I've seen Oregon play good football on a consistent basis, and they lost to Washington the first time because the game was at Washington. Now on a neutral site, now we get to truly see who's the better football team. In my mind, Oregon is definitely the better football team. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think Oregon, they're going to score a late touchdown, pull away from Washington. I think it's going to be a 10-point game. I think Oregon's going to score 41. I think Washington's going to score 31. So I think that it's going to be a good game all around. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring, but ultimately, Bo Nix is going to outplay Michael Penix Jr., and that's going to be the difference in this game. So I got Oregon beating Washington by the score of 41-31. It's going to be a great game all around, but ultimately, Oregon will win the Pac-12 championship. They're going to end up making the college football playoff. That's what I see happening. So that's why I am very confident in Bo Nix performing well against Washington, as Oregon will beat Washington by the score of 41-31. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.